cause that we're looking for, it wouldn't provide an obvious explanation of the mechanic by which identity was divided. It would leave us with something too vague to arrive at a satisfying conclusion. That's not really an argument against it being the case, but for now let's continue searching. The division of the One Great exemplifies the imagery that we're looking for, and Hayata even frames it as a mistake, which tracks with the idea that this primary cause we're looking for is wrongly motivated somehow. However, there's good reason to be suspicious of Hayata. The frenzied flame is not painted in a favorable light, so it's unlikely that this so-called mistake is really a mistake in the way that we're looking for. Furthermore, if the division of the One Great were the primary cause behind identity confusion, that would basically take us back to square one. This is just how the world is set up from the beginning, part of the background conditions of reality, which is somewhat unsatisfying as an explanation. In addition, it would be kind of impersonal. The motivations of the greater will are somewhat abstract, which wouldn't match the theme of parochial human desire opposed to natural balance that we're looking for. The delivery of the Elden Beast into the lands between is similarly impersonal, and therefore somewhat unsatisfying as an explanation. And I can't think of a good way to frame this as a kind of mistake that knocks the world out of balance. If anything, the Elden Beast is the living incarnation of order, and that doesn't easily translate to causing identity confusion. There is a way to make it work. Order is about dividing and distinguishing, about defining opposites, but it takes some leaps to get there, and I don't think this event quite fits the bill. That leaves us with the foundation of the Golden Order and the removal of the Rune of Death. This is presumably the action of a person. Although it's never directly stated, it's generally assumed that Marika removed the Rune of Death, since the Golden Order is founded on the principle that Marika is the one true god. This would be an action of cosmic significance taken by our central character and leader, which follows the pattern set up by Miyazaki's previous stories, in which the leader of the world causes ruin as a result of a character flaw. It's one of the most important events in the story in terms of setting up the conditions of the world we now inhabit, and it's arguably the biggest reason the world is out of balance. It would be early enough in the timeline to account for most, if not all, of the examples of identity confusion, and it carries the appropriate connotations of duality and division that we're looking for. Life versus death, or light and shadow. Even visually, the Rune of Death appears to be an inversion, or perhaps a completion, of Marika's Elden Rune. Furthermore, many of the examples of identity confusion are directly related to the Golden Order and Destined Death. Melina's purpose is to unleash Destined Death, and she'll deliver it to you if you become the Lord of Chaos. Radagon is a leal hound of the Golden Order, and the confusion of his identity as Marika directly concerns the founding principle of the Golden Order, that Marika is the one true god. Destined Death is the forbidden shadow contrasted with the Golden Order's golden light, which parallels how Empyreans like Marika and Rani have shadowbound beasts, a part of their very being. Malekith even acts as a vessel for Destined Death, in an analogous way to how Marika is a vessel for the Elden Ring. The twins Darian and Devon were reviled as accursed beings by everyone except the Golden Order, who accepted them. Godwyn's cloned eyes and body manifests through Deathroot, which is literally the Rune of Death. Even our Roundtable hold seems to be contingent on Destined Death. Our hub version exists outside of this world, but when Destined Death is unleashed, it fades in color and burns, as if its reality is falling apart. It's not a slam dunk, but the foundation of the Golden Order seems to be the most promising candidate for the primary cause that we're looking for. However, there's still something missing from this picture. The Rune of Death isn't called the Rune of Identity, so it's not obvious how these things would be connected. I still don't fully grasp exactly what the Rune of Death does. Many people think that it is just the concept of death, full stop. When it was removed from the Elden Ring, it just stopped everyone from dying. That's the narrative context for why enemies respawn in the game. Of course, some enemies never respawn, and arguably we can kill demigods before the Rune of Death is unleashed. In an interview, Miyazaki said that the immortality of the Tarnished stems from the power of the guidance of grace, but the immortality of the demigods is different. That's associated with the removal of Destined Death from the Elden Ring. Plus, there's something else weird about the Rune of Death. Deathroot, which is the Rune of Death, seems to make dead people live in death. which almost seems like the opposite of what it should do. The Rune of Death is also called Destined Death, so some people think it may just govern death by old age. People can still be killed by other means.